Yeah, we are hearing you. Okay, I said the Yoruba people have a saying that ẹṣin iwájú ni ti ẹ̀yìn wò sáré. That is, horse off the lead horse in any race. Well, what that is telling me, what is actually saying, what is trying to problematize is the fact that in order to be a good leader, in order to have a good followership, the leadership must be good. So they say, ẹṣin iwájú ni ti ẹ̀yìn wò sáré. I mean, that's what I want to say. I don't know if you heard me, but I see that as a statement on leadership.
Thank you very much, Prof. We heard you very well.
Very well.
Let's see if there is any two other people. Do we agree with this or we don't?
We agree with it, Your Majesty.
Yeah. Would you tell me why you agree with that? Or tell us?
Yeah. Why? I agree because I know that people are easily moved to do what they enjoy doing, not what they are for. Yeah.
I think you are very right. I think so. Participants to jump in. All right, from two speakers, we knew that leadership is about modeling. It's about trying to show the followership you want them to do. I think people have said something that I heard in elementary school that said you can bring a horse to a stream, but you cannot force it to drink. So if we want people to do certain things and we start by modeling what we want them to do, they are likely to follow our example. To begin with that reflection. And the next point, next slide. Because we're dealing with leadership in peace and conflicts, by letting us know that war and peace are as old as humans have been on this earth. I repeat that war and peace are as old as humans have been here. And that simply says there has been leadership as well, some kind of leadership. We don't know what kind of leadership, but we'll find out. I mean, leadership in war and leadership in peace. If war and peace have been here for as old as humans have been here, there have been leaders in war and leaders in peace as well. Next slide.
Yes, sir.
My leadership example began, formal training in leadership began in 1995 at the Hubert H. Humphrey Institute for Interfaith at the University of Minnesota. And there I learned that leadership must follow to invisible to one's ideas. You know, that, and I think this really came from Hubert Humphrey himself, and he meant to say that there cannot be leaders without, you can't follow us. So for him, leadership is about mobilizing people to bring visibility to one's idea. Is one of those concepts now and in the past, which has been very, very much dug into. Let's go to the next slide. There are other views of leadership. Martin Luther King, who is a mentor of mine, said, a leader is one who molds consensus, not one who follows consensus. If we understand him, his leadership of the civil rights movement, we can place this in context of the struggle of the civil rights in the United States and understand him that way. Because there will be other definitions of leadership which contradict this. But for a long time, I have used this framework that a leader is one who molds consensus, not one follows consensus. But you must be a leader, you must tell the people how to go, rather than doing the way they are going. I think this is what Martin Luther King meant, especially in the context of the civil rights movement. I had a dictionary that said leadership is the ability of an individual or a group of people to influence and guide followers. That's about an organization. That was what I got from a dictionary, and what I like about it, it still strongly brings out the idea of follower. The third definition I got, again, I think this the people followed them. This definition seems to contradict with the Martin Luther King approach. But I think this one means that you cannot be taking people to a place they don't understand or they don't know. You have to stay with them if you have to lead them. Although Martin Luther King said you have to cut a route for them, not just follow them where they are going to. So these different definitions, some of them insist on a direction. So if leadership is bringing people to do what you want, then there is a key word on the direction, which is desired. You have to take them in the direction you desire them to follow in. So we know that the word desire or the desired direction is important in wherever we want to take a people to. Thank you. Next slide. Because the context, the focus tonight is leadership and peace and conflict resolution, I think there are two questions here to lead this discussion. One is what kind of leadership in peace and conflict resolution situations? Two, at what levels can such leadership happen? I will try to keep these two questions in mind as we follow on.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, leadership, there are many, many, many kinds of leadership. All of us have at least taken one leadership training or another. The church that invited me is involved in leadership. So I'm aware that you have heard of other kinds of leadership, including things I have also heard, like servant leadership, autocratic leadership, democratic leadership, transformational leadership, and so many kinds of leadership. I do not know the ones you but me and John Bryson, who wrote a book titled Leadership for the Common Good, Tackling Public Problems in a Shared Power World. And for them, their framework identified these 6 kinds of leadership: personal, team, organizational leadership, visionary leadership, political leadership, and ethical leadership. So because of my training under these two professors at the Humphrey Institute, I will be focusing more on this framework by Barbara and John. We can take each one, maybe beginning with personal. How many of us have heard this? A leader is born. Anybody?
Yeah.
Have heard about leader? Oh, this guy is a leader. Can anybody talk about that?
Yeah.
Yep.
We're listening. If you heard about somebody described as a born leader, can you tell us who you heard about described that way?
Yeah. Let me share with us about the pioneer pastor of the church that we are attending. We interviewed the mother that is just late last year at a very ripe age. This pioneer pastor himself is almost reaching 80 years of age. But the mother told the story that when he was even in elementary school, from childhood, even the teacher recognized the leadership in him and appointed him to teach other colleagues.
Right. Good. Yeah.
Right from elementary school.
All of us in this audience will understand and identify someone like that in their lives, that they've seen somebody who even when the school said it should be still some kind of identification in that person. People to be senior prefects or prefects in classes. Yeah, there are some people we agree were born. There's also another school of leadership that said leaders are made. Do we know of any made leader? Does anyone in this audience know of a leader who can be said to have been made?
Well, I'm not into much of Nigerian politics, but I have read a number. Can you hear me, by the way?
Yeah,
we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay, great. I have read a number of times where they talk about the president-elect of Nigeria, who was able to mobilize a number of people, about 5 or 6 of them, and mentioned in such a way that all of them, I don't want to mention names because then it goes into Nigerian politics, which I don't think I want to get into. But he mentored them in such a way that if you look at all those 6 people today, they were nobody in the late 90s. But because this man mentored them, they became top leaders in Nigeria. One of them, 2 of them became governors. One of them became a director general. One of them became a federal, and so on and so forth. So those who are made, they were not. It wasn't an inborn. It wasn't. It was not an organic something that would say they became leaders naturally. No, it was not natural. Somebody made them, turned them to become leaders. So I would say they were leaders that were made, but were not born leaders.
Thank you.
And somebody, please, somebody is raising up his hand. Moiti.
Yes, thank you. I'm Moiti, and I'm from Lesotho.
Good.
Our own
Lesotho in Southern
founder.
Africa.
Yes, we are
Lesotho,
a country
in South Africa. Yeah.
Surrounded by South Africa. Our own founder, the founder, Morena Mushweshwe, or Kim Mushweshwe, was made a leader. As a young boy, he came across a wise man called Chief Mohlomi. And it is Chief Mohlomi who mentored him to become a leader. And he became the founder of our nation.
Wonderful. Wonderful. In other words, we all agree here that some leaders are born, others are made, others are trained to. In other words, both happen in our societies all over the world and at all times, whether they are leading in wartime or leading in peacetime. Some of those leaders are made, others are born. We were referring there to individual leadership, to personship. A little bit about, I say what I want to say about team leadership, which is my preferred kind of leadership. Could our moderator go to the next slide and play the video, which is there? It's not long.
Yeah. Yeah. So I shall play the video.
Yeah,
Yes.
just move to the next slide and play the video, which is there. Is it playing?
Yeah, it's clear.
Yeah. Go ahead. Let it play. Let it play.
There's a lot of lessons about about strong and about which
Yeah, it has stopped. Should I play it again?
Did you play the entire video?
Yes.
So what, okay, if everybody saw it, because I can't see it from my end on a phone.
I couldn't see it. I saw the picture, but nothing, no movement, nothing moved.
Yeah,
there. So
there's
it couldn't be a video. Maybe
It's a video. It has to move. Can you
No,
play?
There was no movement.
Okay, there is movement. The tigers wanted to kill one buffalo until the other buffalo came and they teamed together to fight the tigers.
We just see a picture.
Yes.
Just it's not moving.
Uh-oh. I wonder, it's moving at my end here. I can see it.
If people are using the phone like me, I'm sure they might not be able to see that happen. But explanation.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can give us a summary.
That is the explanation.
The summary.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think there is.
Yeah, Mr.
Summary. Yeah.
Are you giving it again, or you did already?
Yeah, I've played it again, but the summary is that the tigers wanted to kill a buffalo. The other buffalo came and rescued the only buffalo that the tiger wanted to. I mean, there were many tigers that wanted to kill a buffalo. Others came and rescued that one.
Yes, I think that is it. Now you can go back to the slide before.
Yeah.
I think what that the video is trying to show us is how leadership can be not personal, but it can be a team, can be a group. Whether we're talking of church leadership, we're talking of war leadership, we're talking of leadership for peace, leadership for war, for any other kind of effort. If we work as a team, it is great leadership. That is my preferred kind of leadership. Not just personal, but team leadership. I will not spend a lot of time on organizational, political, and ethical, except to say that ethical means, are we leading for good or not so very good? Ethics is about right and wrong. Do we know ethical? Do we know some political leader? One, the president-elect in Nigeria now, we can study that kind of personality under political leadership and see how it goes. Visionary, my good example there was Martin Luther King. A visionary leader is that leader who knows where he's taking his people to. And these are people who dream of where the destination can be. It is, again, a preferred way for me to lead. In other words, you can say you are a leader if you do not have a dream, a vision to lead people to. Kinds of leadership within this framework by Barbara and John are team leadership and visionary leadership. Again, I remember saying that there are many other schools of leadership. There are many other kinds of leadership that I've heard about, discussed, like servant leader, autocratic leader. We know many of them, even on this continent. Democratic leaders, transformational leadership, or leaders, we know some of those. So let's go about 2 slides forward. Are we there? Have you gone to 2 slides down?
No. The next slide, I'm going to the next slide.
Go past the buffaloes.
Okay.
Yeah, now it's playing now.
Oh. So you still want it to play? Okay.
Yeah, I've seen it. It's playing now.
Yeah, it is playing here too.
That was to illustrate team leadership. Buffaloes fighting as a team. The same with the tigers.
Yeah. I think, okay. Should I go to the next slide?
Okay, sir.
Leadership at the highest levels.
Yes. So I don't know what kind of leaders we want to work with. Let us imagine leadership at all levels. Say the UN. Leadership of the Commonwealth, like one was being crowned today. Leadership of the Francophonie. Leadership of the African Union, ECOWAS. Or leadership of Nigeria, that one of us talked about. Or just which of those kinds, 6 kinds, leadership of the UN, or the leadership of the Commonwealth, or the leadership of the African Union, or the leadership of ECOWAS, or the leadership of Nigeria, or leadership in your community where you live, in your church, in your school. If you were to talk about the kind of leader you have at any of these levels, would you easily use one of the 6 categories that John and Barbara listed? Personal, team, organizational, political, ethical. Do you know of any leaders in any of these countries or sub-regions or communities that you may begin to think of the kind of leadership that you see them, you see in them?
Okay.
Think of any leadership from your home, your husband, your wife, your next door neighbor, your community, your block. You see any leader who envision, think they are leading, very personal? Are they involved in team leadership? Are they ethical? Are they very political? Do we begin to think of the leaders you know in those terms? Anyone? Anybody?
Yeah, to me, I feel, in my own opinion, I think some of this leadership may be situational.
Again, it's breaking, so I didn't hear it well.
Yeah, in my opinion, I am saying that any of this leadership may depend on the context that one meets himself or herself.
Okay.
Victor Balogun is raising up his hand.
Yes.
I just want to give a scenario of a football team. I love watching football a whole lot. And one particular Nigerian player that I see that is a leader is Victor Osimhen. Although he's not a captain of his the team he plays with in Napoli at the moment that won the Scudetto yesterday. He's not a captain, but you can see that he's a leader. Anytime he's playing, he always motivates them to action. And he inspires his colleagues and ensure they win. And anytime he's playing for Nigeria, you can also see the leadership instinct in him as well. Although he's not a captain, but always ensure that he mobilizes the team to achieve the desired goal. So I see him as a team leader, and he has that ability to motivate his peers to achieve a very great goal.
Wonderful input. Thank you very much for that input. And also the input that came as people performing within given context can also be true. But I also know the current Secretary General of the United Nations, when he came into office on the first day of 2017, he invited the entire world to help him work for peace. He invited governments, organizations, individuals, whoever could hear him to help him work for peace. But unfortunately, since 2017, that he has been Secretary General of the United Nations, I didn't think that was able to negotiate peace anywhere in the world since that 2017. So would we say that is an effective leader or not?
Yeah, he has good intention. He has good desire. I think that's where we are on this webinar. Why did he fail? That's the question. David Oladeji is raising his hand. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. David, go ahead.
Okay, I wanted to give an example of someone who I'm not quite sure where he would fit exactly, but the president of Rwanda, as much as he is bringing results, I mean, given that at the end of the day, a leader would be someone that brings results. He's bringing results to the economy of Rwanda, advancement and all that. At the same time, I think he might fall under some level of autocratic leadership, even though he supposedly. So sometimes I'm just trying to maybe a question also, how do you, because he's more of a leader that cuts across, whether it's autocratic, democratic, and then political. How exactly do you, classify people like that?
Very, very good input. Thank you. I think we can stay with the two. We can stay with the two examples that the last two speakers brought up. Rwandan, the president, you rented candidacy. Now, my question would be, if somebody is bringing results and being autocratic, how would we, and I hear you asking this question, how would we classify that kind of a leader? In leadership studies, we are more interested in effectiveness. How effective is a leader? How effective is a leader? How effective is a leader? So even though that particular president is bringing good results, as you tell us, can we say he's effective? Can we say that is the kind of leader we want? I don't know. And for this, the first part, talking about intentions, are intentions enough? the fact that somebody has an intention, if you cannot translate that intention into action, would that be enough? Remember the definition, my working definition here was a leader is that person who mobilizes a following to bring visibility to their idea. To the first, if you have a good intention and you cannot make that idea happen, do we still see you as a good leader? We are just throwing about these ideas. We will not dwell on any particular. We're just throwing them out to go. Please go to the slide.
Okay. Ingredients of conflict and responses.
Because about conflict, I wanted to bring 3 ingredients. Conflicts happen because of differences in needs and differences in values. This kind of conflict arises because the parties have differences, differences in interests, differences in values. Can we all stop, ponder, think of any conflict? By conflict, I simply mean disagreement. Think of any disagreement with your spouse, with your son, with your daughter, with your mom, with your best friend, with anybody, or any conflict in your area, and see where there were differences, either in needs, interests, or values. Just try thinking of that. Any conflict whatsoever, whether it is between neighbor and a neighbor, a parent and a child, or 2 countries, you will always bring them down to those 3 key ingredients. Anybody sees a conflict, they know. We all have conflicts. By conflict here, I simply mean, I'm not referring to war. I'm referring to just a disagreement.
Yeah, someone, okay, Professor Fola has raised his hand. Yeah.
And then, yeah, Prof.
Unmute yourself, Prof. You have to unmute yourself, unmute your mic. Your mic
Okay.
is yeah.
Okay. Yes. I said I raised my hand because I lost. I don't know what happened. Maybe part of the conversation. However, I wanted to interject at the point that David was asking a question, was raising issues. And I felt that if I had a choice to make between the president of Rwanda and the Secretary General of the United Nations, I would go for the president of Rwanda because it's not just because, first of all, some people refer to him as being autocratic. Well, in leadership, in order to be effective, there will be some decisions that the leader will have to take, that some might actually see as being autocratic. It's not necessarily autocratic. It's initiative, prerogative that the leader must take sometimes in order to get things done. As long as it's not dictatorial, it's not vindictive. I embrace that president of Rwanda, and as far as I'm concerned, if we are looking at leadership in Africa today, it will be will probably be my number one choice.
Okay.
The secretary, right? Go ahead.
No. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you short, Prof. But
that's fine.
I just wanted to throw around those issues so we can, after this webinar, we can extend talking. As I see being interested in that kind of leader who gets things done, no matter how.
Yes.
But is he getting things done? Is he results oriented, just like David said? I don't want us to make it on him just because he is coming on the heels of somebody I've heard the same way, the late president of Libya, Gaddafi. My worry with those kinds of leaders is how long they stay on the scene.
Right.
How long they allow themselves to stay on the scene.
Yes.
Yeah. So
that's true.
Yeah. Let's get on to where we are now and talk about these needs, interests, and values. Think of any conflict you have been involved, and we have all been involved in conflicts, in disagreements with other people. Or values. Whether we are talking of Nigeria and Benin Republic, Nigeria and Cameroon, or we are talking of a spouse or spouses at home, or we are talking in terms of parents and kids, or whatever, or whatever conflict. Yeah, I see Victor's hand is up, and Moeti.
I think if I may talk for some of the conflicts that one has observed, especially here at home, the political conflicts are usually around personal interests. You know, you have people here who you know, would especially with this kind of governments nowadays, where you know, you do not have just one party ruling, like in our case, where you have to bring in so many people just for you to form a coalition. Just a few people can cause a conflict because they are after their own interests.
Okay,
and
thank you.
That may result in a collapse of the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Great points. Victor, your hand is up, or
Yes.
just...
Yes. Okay. I wanted to give a scenario as well.
Yes. Go ahead.
In 2011, 2012, I was privileged to be the president of Nigeria Christian Corpus Fellowship, the fellowship for Christian core members. And then when we go for rural evangelism, we rent truck to go to such outreaches. So as the leader, I felt we should have our own truck, we should buy our own truck, instead of renting trucks. But my colleagues, like 70% of them disagreed. That look, the money we are earning as core members as at that time, some said they want to get married after the youth service period. Some said they want to buy a car and what have you. So, but I felt if you could buy that at that time, it would go a long way in cutting the costs of renting trucks whenever I do evangelism. So for like 2 or 3 months, we did not reach a conclusion on that matter. So it was a conflicting situation, sort of. So, but I just used a kind of lobbying and praying as well that God will touch their hearts. And eventually, some of them agreed. So after maybe like 6 or 7 months, we eventually bought the truck. And the interesting thing is, this is over 10 years now that I've finished my youth service corps. They are in the place where I served in Osun State, a part of Nigeria. They are still using the truck now, up to now. So I just see that as, oh, if the conflict was not resolved that time, of course, years after now that they are benefiting from such, then of course that benefit will not be there at this point. So that's just the scenario I wanted to paint. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you. So I didn't quite hear. So was it a question of needs, interests, or values, or all three?
Yeah, I think it's values. For me, I think it's particularly values.
All right.
Cutting costs and also making efforts.
Good. So the point I wanted to pass on is that conflicts arise as a result of those three things. Any kinds of conflicts. Values are at par, interests are different, or needs are different. Any kinds of so arise or between two countries like Ukraine and Russia, or like the war in the Cameroons. There are usually 5 ways that people respond to that. One way, just memory, but there are only 5 ways. People compete. You push me, I push you. That's competitive. That's competition. You say I did this and I say you did that. That is competition. People you live where you are, I live where we meet in the middle, someplace that's compromised. I wanted to say, my husband beats me all the time, but oh yeah, I got the word, accommodate. The 5th way, which is not listed here, is accommodation. It's date. My husband beats me all the time, but what can I do? I just maybe for the sake of the children, I just that kind of response is called accommodation. Those are people, some people, others compete, others collaborate, others compromise, others avoid. Avoidance is what some people do. When we will be answering questions or discussing real conflicts, you'll see exactly where these styles come in. In conflict studies, they call them conflict styles, the way people respond to conflicts. Any of these 5 methods. If please, if our moderator is going to send around these slides, just add accommodate will be the 5th type. And we'll see how that works. Let's go to the next.
Okay.
Maybe it was, I don't know who, in the name of our participant who talked about youth service and whether something has been resolved.
Yeah, Victor Balogun.
Victor. When you say resolve, I hear you talking conflict resolution, which was part of the title of this webinar. Conflict resolution is about addressing problems, disagreements, conflicts in a way to achieve durable, and I put that in red, I highlight that, lasting solution. Victor was asking, he doesn't know if that has been resolved. By conflict resolution, we are interested in the way a problem, a conflict is addressed such that the parties achieve durable or lasting resolution or solutions. For this to happen, there must be the willingness on both sides. A conflict cannot be resolved if no party is willing to have resolution, or if only one of the parties. I say both sides here, but usually there are more than two sides to every conflict. We may see just two, but there are usually more than two sides to every conflict. When the parties are willing for the conflict to be resolved, it will be resolved. If not, the field, people in this field usually talk of conflict management, or recently they have started talking of conflict transformation. I am a student of conflict resolution, meaning that to resolve a conflict, you have to go beyond the surface and address the underlying causes of that conflict. Whether it is a conflict at church, in the community, between two countries, two neighbors, or just a husband and wife, or a parent and a child. Resolution, if you do conflict management, you are not likely to have durable, lasting outcomes. No. Most people who are interested in conflict management simply want to smoothen the surface. You see two people fighting, that is not a conflict. That is just the visible part of the conflict. There's a lot beyond or below the surface that you don't see. And that's why people in conflict resolution will talk of the iceberg theory of conflict. When you see just the tip of the iceberg, that is not a conflict. That is the visible sign that there is something. You've got to go below the surface to find what kinds of things are they disagreeing on. And I also want to, at this level, say, when people fight, that fight is not the conflict. It simply means that the conflict was not addressed. So it got higher to a higher level with violence. Violent conflict is conflict at a higher level. It simply means that disagreement, the differences between the parties was not addressed, and that's why they ended up fighting or killing each other, exchanging blows, and so on and so forth. At any level, if you watch in a home with friends, between countries, when there is a fight, it means the underlying causes below the surface of the water were not addressed. That is why it turned violent. And when a conflict turns violent, it becomes more complicated. It becomes a lot more complex. Can we continue?
Yes.
Next slide. When we talk of peace and conflict resolution today, what are we referring to? Conflict resolution as we study today started in post-industrial Western societies as ADR, alternatives to dispute resolution. What we call today conflict resolution started in the 1970s in post-industrial Western societies as ADR. ADR means alternative dispute resolution. And I'm asking the question, alternative to what? Alternatives to the court system. Those people realize they are very used to going to court. They took everything to court. But they realized that the litigation or the court system had three weaknesses. Weakness number one, the court system anywhere in the world is very costly. It costs a lot of money to hire lawyers. Number two, the court system takes a lot of time. Number three, and worse, the court system, when you go to court with your spouse or with your dad or with your neighbor or with another country, you are looking for a winner and a loser. It is a win-lose approach to settling any disputes. And you must understand that people who do not know each other, people who are not friendly with each other, have no conflicts. If I don't know you, we will never have a disagreement. People who have disagreements have those disagreements because they have something in common. You need to share something first before you can have a conflict. If we did not meet in this webinar, we would never know each other. We would never even have a conflict. But because we met in this same webinar and we shared this time together, we have something in common here. We may disagree from now on. People who have conflict have a relationship before the conflict. When they go to court, that relationship is harmed beyond repair. Why? Because the court system is about winning or losing. It's a winner-loser proposition. You go to court because you want to win, but you might lose. So when people lose, that relationship that existed between the two people, between the parties, is ruined. So for these three reasons, the people in post-industrial Western societies thought, oh, why don't we get a different way of addressing our differences, our conflicts, in what they now call win-win propositions. How do we address, because we have a relationship, we are husband, we are two neighbors, we share a boundary together, or any kind of thing like that. Can we now address the conflict in a way that nobody loses completely, nobody wins completely? That is why they called it now win-win approach. And what they are looking for in this win-win kind of approach is what in those 5 styles we called compromise. Common good. You leave your corner, I leave my corner, we meet in the middle ground. If you look back at the 5 approaches to addressing conflict, one of them was compromise. That is what brings win-win. I'll go back again to the same framework. I didn't talk much about avoid. Avoidance is that kind of conflict style in which one party pretends to behave as, how do you call this bird? The ostrich. It buries its head in the sand as if there was nothing at all. But in most conflicts, the people who avoid, who use avoidance as a style, are the people who think they are strong, are the people who think they have more power. They can force you, as in leadership, to follow them. They can push you to obedience. That's why they will avoid. But the bad thing about avoiding as a conflict strategy, as a style, is that you may avoid for 100 years, the conflict does not go. The conflict with a husband and wife. The wife, she complains down the road 2 months. You just turn your head and go your way, and so on and so forth. All the time, that conflict is not going away. Rather, it is getting more complex. So if we're still looking at this slide, I said why alternative? The alternative was because of the 3 reasons I gave you. The court system is very expensive. It takes a whole lot of time, and worse, it destroys the relationship that existed before the conflict arose. Next slide, sir. I can continue. I think I already discussed this, cost-time relationships. So we can go on.
Yeah.
So how do we get back to the Crosby-Bryson framework and implement it in conflicts, whether they are individual, they are groups, they are communities, they are nations, they are regions, or the world? I think that the homework, the assignment for this webinar will be us trying to address this issue. How then do we implement leadership, or the leadership framework from Crosby and Bryson, to individual problems or groups, as individuals, as groups, as communities, as nations, as regions, and as a world system? In red, whether we are pursuing personal leadership, team leadership, organizational leadership, or visionary leadership, or political or ethical, I say it will depend on our understanding of what leadership is about, and who the leader should be, and what the leader should do. Do we, one, understand what leadership is about? Do we know what a leader should be? Do we know what the leader should do? Because I believe that all leadership is about people. If you are a leader that needs to destroy some people to bring it into your idea, I would first oppose your kind of leadership. Because I didn't know how much time we had to spend together, I decided to stop. I decided to stop here so that maybe during the Q&A, we may touch on other issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof. Your Majesty, we really appreciate you. And I believe that we have had a good time, though we are spending more than 1.5 hours now. I think in the next 30 minutes, we should round off so that we will not overstress ourselves. So if you permit me, I really want to appreciate you because you have used wisdom to address the questions that we have sent ahead by this presentation. Let me allow from the audience, does anyone has a particular question? Because I would suggest that maybe we should just ask the question generally to save time, then His Royal Majesty can address these questions together. So please, let's give room. Please, if you have any question, you may either unmute yourself or you raise up your hand. I believe we have all enjoyed the time and all those ideas that have been shared already. So please be free. This interactive webinar. If you have questions, let us have you. Anyone? Please go ahead. Anyone? Is there anyone? Okay. Let me just, I think
you need somebody has a question.
Okay. What's the question, please? Okay.
I think Eunice is saying is a leader a reflection of his or her people, or are the people a reflection of their leader?
Oh, that's good. Okay. Your Majesty, please
That's
go
from
ahead.
you.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other question? Maybe we take more before we. Any other?
So I have a question, and there is this saying that a people deserve the kind of leaders they get. So I want to know that a situation where people are helpless, when somebody has compelled himself on them that either you like it or yes, I want to be a leader, and use all resources within his jurisdiction to make himself a leader at all costs. So in such a scenario, what can the followership or the followers, what can they do so that they will not be in perpetual slavery?
Your His Royal Majesty, I hope you are taking notes, sir.
Is he hearing?
I hope you are hearing, Majesty, sir. Are you online or what is going on? Let's be sure.
He muted.
Okay. Please unmute yourself. We just want to know that. I hope you are hearing the questions.
The first one I didn't hear well.
Okay.
I was muted.
Okay, please, Prof, can you read it again?
Okay. The first question from Eunice, that's Dr. Eunice Oladeji. She said, is a leader a reflection of his or her people, or are the people a reflection of their leader? Did you hear that?
I heard that. Whether
Okay,
I
good.
understand it is another matter, but I heard it.
Okay. Okay.
I think.
No, well, maybe you can hear other questions.
If I understood.
No, we are saying
well,
that.
I heard that one.
Okay, let's capture all the questions because of time. We want you to listen. We want you to listen to all the questions, and then within a few minutes, then you respond. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other?
All right.
Any other question?
My own question to His Majesty is, why is it that Africa is a desert? I don't know how to put it. A dead end for leaders. We have politicians in Africa, many politicians, but we don't have leaders. I think we can count at the tip of our fingers, maybe 2 or 3 people we can point to that, oh, these have been good leaders in Africa. Maybe Mandela. Maybe you can think of somebody like Awolowo. Otherwise, I mean, of course, we have the current president of Rwanda, and maybe a few others, left, right, and center. But generally speaking, Africa has lacked leaders. Why do you think that is the case, please, Your Majesty?
Okay.
Yeah, please let me just add some from the class that I've put together. I will just read them out. You take notes, sir. There are cases of divorces, separation in marriage, irreconcilable conflicts among couples. How can this be reduced or stopped? Number 2, there are injustice, inequalities, corruption, religious intolerance, ethnic conflicts, tribal conflict. There are agitation for Yoruba nation, Biafra nation. Is there hope that this kind of conflict may be resolved? And how? Number 3, how can one resolve an issue or conflict between a couple in which the wife left her husband with children to live alone? Later, she decided to come back to her husband, but the husband has already married another wife. Number 4, there were fights between such towns as Modakeke and Ife, Ifon and Ilobu, Obaile and Obaisale. How can we resolve this conflict permanently? These are maybe boiling down to boundary dispute and all that. Then 5, maybe the last one.
Okay.
The issue of conflict is a global phenomenon, and it used to start from little and petty problems from our homes, extended families, town, local government, national, and then global. These conflicts have defied solution because those involved don't want to shift ground. Thus, the cycle continues. We need leaders who are committed to resolving conflict here and there. Where are such leaders? How can we raise and multiply such leaders? At this junction, let's allow His Royal Majesty to respond to as many as you can pick up. Yeah. Go ahead, sir.
Can the first leaders follow followers or followers follow leaders? Was it that way? The very first question.
Yeah, is leader a reflection of the follower, or followers are a reflection of the leaders? And then the second one actually is
Let me be, that I just needed to clarify the first one.
Yeah.
I think the answer to the first question comes from the very first reflection that we had at the beginning of this session. I had asked whether leadership is by force or by example. And we all agreed that leadership should be by example. In that regard, for question number one, leadership of the followership. If the leader is one leading by example, then the follower should be following that example. Person who posed the question, does that sound like an answer? If we go back to number two. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Number two, why is it that in Africa we have politicians and not leaders like Mandela? Well, I think part of it is the colonial confusion. I think part of the answer to question two, why don't we have leaders in Africa? We only have politicians. I would think that is a colonial. We all have school, and inside many we were under kings. Now we have to be under whom still feel as though they were kings. Our new leader
it seems we are not hearing the voice again.
Hello? Break.
Yeah.
I was saying that for question number two, my answer is that we are confused because of the kind of colonial socialization that we went through. In Africa, our leaders were our kings. Today, we have different kinds of leaders. Those different kinds of leaders are confused between being like the kings of our traditional of our president of Cameroon, who has been there for 40-something years and doesn't want to quit, or even like the good president of Libya, who was so good, but also eternalized himself there, or even like bringing results, but to see a king or a president. with that, let's go to divorces. How to redeem divorces. Let me point out what is important is do the parties work through the conflict. So the only way to redeem is to be able to teach our people how to work through their conflicts. There will always be disagreements between spouses. Always. There is no difference. There is no home. In my, what that means is that there will always be. What is important the spouses, there will always be. That was for question 3. Question 4, injustices, conflicts, agitations for Oduduwa or Biafra. Any hope? Can they be resolved? There is hope. If we want to address all issues, including agitations, we address them meaningfully. There can be hope. Those agitations should not be viewed as or how do I put it? As ephemeral nuisance. They are not an ephemeral nuisance. If you want to believe what I'm saying, I started hearing about the Biafran cause in 1966-67. I still hear about it to this day. It therefore means that these agitations should be taken seriously and addressed with the seriousness that they deserve. They are not ephemeral nuisance. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we are hearing.
Okay. Question number 5. Husbands and marriages. I think question number 3 was not very different from question number 5. It has to do with marriage problems. How can we redeem them? The answer was the only way is to teach, to train, no. Let me use the right word. Teach spouses to understand how to address their differences. Because those differences will always be, always. Theory says that where 2 or more people live or work together, there's bound to be differences. There's bound to be conflicts. So that there are conflicts is not the problem. The problem is how are those conflicts addressed? And then there was a question about between Madakeke and just think again. Boundary issues arise because of needs. The land that the Modakeke people and the Ife people have, probably, I don't know, the land might not be a need. They need the land, they need the territory, they need the place for one reason or another. So how do we address such conflicts? If through mediation, instead of going to court, it may be efficient mediators should be involved in order to achieve a win-win solution for those kinds of problems. I don't know them. I can't attempt to address something I don't know. But I think the best way is not to go to court, because the people of Modakeke and Ife are going to be neighbors forever. So the only way is to see that it is in their interest situation. We came to conflict as a growth of conflict. I think the kind of leadership should be of leadership that has the interest. Where we're defining leadership, talk about leadership representing the needs of people, representing people. So that even though conflict is global,
I hope we are still hearing. Oh, okay, go ahead, sir. Hello. I hope we still have His Majesty. Okay.
I lost you at some point.
Yeah, okay, go ahead. We got you.
This is my problem with online education. I'm not a fan of this kind of education, but
okay.
What do we do?
We are with you now. Yeah.
Yeah. I had finished with the question on Modakeke Ife as perpetual boundary problems.
Okay.
And I said there were issues that arose out of need or needs. And then I had come to conflict as global and what kind of leadership for a cycle of conflict. I said the kind of leadership for those conflicts would be the kind of leadership that has the people or their followers at heart. Those kinds of conflicts. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. There is unstableness in the network. I didn't hear you very well, the last part.
I was wondering whether we were going to go to the other formulated before.
Oh, yeah, that one, I just perceived that your slide presentation covered most aspect of that. That's why I minimized, but I think we will be interested in highlighting what you have. If to round off that section, if you just permit me to read so that the participants can follow then you may be able to put in summary. We just have about 5 minutes to go. He said, when and how did you become a king? I think these are good wrapping points. What motivated you to become a leader during these times of great conflict in Cameroon? And how do you stay motivated to keep leading? Actually, even if we limit to that one question, it will be good, because this is a case study also. How is there hope ahead of the conflict in Cameroon with your leadership? Does the solution lie with the political leader, or do you think that the traditional rulers like yourself will be the solution to the conflict?
Okay. Now that there is time, the time is short, I'm going to rush over those. When and how did I become king? I have been king for 25 years. I was kingship, where I come from, is from contradictory. It is not like the Europe. Where I come from, it is one family that rules. The king on dying places his selection on one of the sons who is likely to get. You know, in Africa, people are concerned about what happens when they are no longer in the choice for
Some more voice now.
Yeah, you seem not to be hearing the voice. Hello?
it looks like the machines are tired. Yeah. I was saying that kingship, where I come from, is not like it's not goes from father to son. And that I have been on the throne for 25 years. How are you hoping? What kind of leadership in their hope from traditional rulers? No. No, because Cameroon is very French. Cameroon is not like Nigeria, where the British rules indirectly using the kings. In Cameroon, the kings are put in the second or auxiliary position. They almost do not have a voice. They do not even have any representation anywhere. So a solution is not likely to come from them. It is very unfortunately, one part that they can kill to submission. The other people, the weaker party, thinks that there's no way. Well, they have a slogan that says the government will kill them to the last person standing. So now you see two sides are dogged in their positions. The only hope is for third party interveners powerful third party who can come in and bring in some order. Definitely, after 6 years of war, these third parties, particularly the United Nations, has not made any effort, even though the United Nations was that organization that was formed to prevent wars. I'm afraid to say that this particular war in Cameroon was caused by the United Nations, which did not respect her own principles and allowed or imposed independence by joining on British Cameroons. I do not understand what independence by joining means, but that is the roots of the war. Is because granted independence to French Cameroon, the British and the United Nations compelled the people of British Cameroons to independence by joining. So I think the same United Nations that caused the problem will have to come in somehow. Maybe after they judge that enough people may have been killed. The war has been going on for 6 years, and nobody seems to be taking notice of the war. I think it will be incumbent on the United Nations to step in at some point and bring a kind of mediation. Recently, the two parties were in Canada working on a mediation from October, November, and December. Canada tried, and in January, Canada put out a statement on pre-talks. The people of British Cameroon accepted Canada to be a mediator, mediate anything. And if you remember when we were still talking, when I was still making my remarks, I said there cannot be conflict resolution until the parties are willing.
Yes. You said it.
If only one party is willing, there will not be conflict resolution. Thank you.
Yeah. Your Royal Majesty, we really appreciate you. May I just want to say, starting with the participants tonight, more people joined us during the course of your presentation. We recognize you, Mrs. Odetunde from CLBTI, and Jonathan Oladeji from South Africa, Pretoria, and others, Dike Adewoye. We really appreciate you. Let me request my wife to just express our gratitude. Joyous Innovation 67, we are passionate about leadership impact, even in building a nation. And we are seizing every opportunity to impact even the community where we are working, and globally also draw from wealth of experience like His Royal Majesty to share with us. I believe we have all gained a lot. If that is the case, even to appreciate His Royal Majesty, can you unmute and let's give a round of applause even to His Royal Majesty. Please, a round of applause, please, everybody. Can you do that before my wife speaks? Can you please, round of applause? We thank you, we appreciate you. Over to you, Reverend Dr. Mrs. Sola.
Couldn't come up without the can you check down the slides so that we the screen.
Yes, let me take down the slide.
Ahead.
Yeah.
Hello.
That's a lot better.
Good evening, everyone. Once again, that to shed light upon. It is our prayer that all the efforts that has been put into this webinar will not be a waste in the life of everyone, one of us who have participated in the webinar. I want to pray that God will continue to strengthen His Royal Majesty to continue that the purpose for which God has placed him there will be achieved. And for all of us, in the areas where we find ourselves as leaders, that God will enable us to be able to lead, to be a sheep, and also to lead by 67. We want to appreciate every one of us. We want to appreciate Professor Michael Lafon and all our students from Christianship Institute. We appreciate every one of you. Thank you, Brother Derogba, Victor. Thank you. We pray and we ask that our Royal Majesty bring our greetings to the Queen. Help us appreciate her for releasing you for such a long time. Thank you. God bless you, sir.
Also, Dr. Jonathan Oladeji, Deji, and responding with the participants, we will send the slide, the PowerPoint, to those who have submitted their emails. And we want you to continue to support Joyous Innovation 67. This is the end. To a particular free little library, it is 70,000 naira. We thank those who, even among the participants tonight, who have sponsored Little Free Library in communities. If God so touched you and you want to put your name in gold for remembrance, you can contact us and we will do Little Free Library in your name. We will do it even to whichever community you want it to be installed. The Little Free Library is part of our literacy development for community. And recently, the Ministry of Education in Osun State has given us free hand to train librarians in 30 secondary schools of Osun State. We are looking to us. These are social works or part of our own contribution to the community. And you can partner with us to make such impact. Thank you very much. Let's keep communicating. And once again, God bless you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
You can please, at this moment,
Thank you. Good night.
I'm going to leave the webinar open. You can unmute your video. You can share pleasantry. You can greet one another. And I would like to see some faces. Please, just allow as many people to see your face. And part of the aim of this webinar is to network also, know people. I'm interested in Moeti from Lesotho. Please, if you leave your email, we will still correspond with you. Let me see somebody else that I've not known before.
Yes, you'll find my email.
Okay, okay, thank you, thank you.
Yeah, it's already so cold here. It's already so cold and I'm wrapped in my blanket.
You
want to see that?
We understand you. Anyway, open your video and say hi to people all over. Dr. Professor Fonkem has taken I will be the last person to leave. So please, open your video, let's see your faces, and it's a good time today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Follow, okay? Yeah. Yeah. Some people, some of us, we don't open.
Good night, everyone. Thank you for the session. I can't open the video because it's dark. We are having load shedding.
That's Jonathan.
Good night.
Don't see your face.
Good night.
We are having load shedding.
It's looking, you are looking good. Okay. Oh, maybe perhaps you are not seeing my, you are not seeing my face, yeah? Are you?
No.
I'm seeing we are seeing your face.
I'm still, yes, I'm still on. Okay.
I don't see your face.
Oh, you can see my face. I'm using two devices. One is a picture one, okay? Mr. Culture, it's so nice to see your face too. That's good.
Good night, good night, good night.
Yeah, good night.
Good night.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Dr. John Agbera, from where is that? Can you speak to us? Dr. John Agberagba. Yeah, speak to us. Okay. Angela, how are you? How's your husband? Hello. Can you unmute us? Okay. Yeah. Dr. John Agberagba, I was trying to know from where you are coming from, but we are not hearing your voice. Okay. Anyway, I think some of you have submitted your email. We will correspond with you. God bless you.
Nice.
I will be the last to the remaining people. Sister Angela, you didn't unmute. Are you in Cameroon or in Nigeria? She has left. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good night. Good night, everybody. Yeah.
Nice.
Good night. Good night. Good night. Yeah. Good night. Good night. Okay. Yeah.